Thank you for staying with us and welcome back to the Love Corner Show. I want to introduce our newest guest on the show. His name is Drew. He's a young man and good looking, and we want him to shed some light on the fact that ladies are saying that young men are not straightforward. They won't tell you what they want from you as a lady. So Drew, tell us, what is happening?
First of all, thank you for welcoming me to the show. I'm very happy and excited to be part of the show. Going straight to the point, it's a very interesting topic, considering that we're living in a different era right now, and we are living in the right now kind of an era where people want things now and then. And when we talk about young men, most young men haven't figured out, especially when you talk about men ranging between the ages of 18 and 25, they're still figuring things out. And unfortunately, most men of that age usually want to get into relationships, try things out, and when they do not know exactly what they want, they end up either wasting that woman's time or wasting their own time. So at that age, I think a young man should be focusing on himself, focusing on building himself as a person, building his wealth, building networks that could enable him to become a responsible person and a person of substance in the community, instead of just wasting that time and energy on women. Now, when women say that a guy is not straightforward, they basically mean that you haven't figured out, as a man, you haven't really figured out where this woman fits in your life. And when a man is at that age of 18 and 25, according to me, it's my opinion, a man is still confused. He doesn't even know where he stays. He doesn't know what kind of direction he wants. He is actually searching himself. And when a man is searching for himself, you tend to be everywhere because you haven't really hit that spot when it comes to finding your true purpose. And that's why it's for me, I think it's right for women to complain that sometimes men, that maybe young men, are not really straightforward compared to our older counterparts. But of course, that will change if we talk about men that are above 30. And now depending on what that man at above 30 has been able to do in his 20s, then it's a different case. For someone that is above 30, of course, they've experienced life. Probably by 35, you've enjoyed your youth. But if you didn't enjoy or do the things that you're supposed to do in your 20s, that is where women now start complaining again.
Okay.
So I think it's young men losing direction and lacking, having their priorities wrong in their 20s. Once your priorities are wrong in your 20s, then in your 30s you become an irresponsible man, and by your 40s now you're chasing young girls because you missed that wave when it was your time.
Okay, now you're telling, so what you're saying is young men should focus on building themselves, finding who they want, who they are, what they want.
Yes.
Okay, so there's no dating in that space.
In that space, you should never. I think personally I've made that mistake, and most of us have made that mistake of dating when we are young, instead of focusing on ourselves. So young women, when young women date such men at that young age, they go through character development. Wanapitia character. Yeah. So by the time they are 28, 29, 30, they're like, all men are trash. You met a young...
They're already wounded.
Yeah, they're already wounded. But you met a wrong person. The person was already confused. You got into the mix. He would lie to you, told you, you're my forever. Nowadays lies are more advanced. And the lies keep on advancing over time because, of course, they don't want to lose you as a woman. You're pretty looking, you're beautiful. But then when they miss that stage, they get to that other stage of now 30, 40, they haven't figured themselves out yet, financially, emotionally, spiritually, then that's why we have now men that are in their 50s, 60s, having families, children that are all grown up, but they still dating young women that are even close to the age of their daughters.
Or even young.
Even younger. In some cases, you even find men that have been, arrested because of being pedophile.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on that note, I'd like Pastor Sach to clarify something, because this one is happening, cheating everywhere. Even the old men in the church, the men of God, are actually doing it. Now, what is happening?
I think people nowadays, the fear of God basically has departed from people. Nowadays, cheating, lying, doing all those. Yeah, it's just a norm. It's something that people are getting used to. So it's like their conscience have been seared completely. But as my brother was talking, this is the question that was just running in my head. When this young man is trying to find himself, what is this chick doing? And I think now that is now the question that now we need to answer, because he has truly, explained in details what needs to happen. So the question is, what about this chick? Because if the man needs to concentrate on, finding himself and putting his priority right, then what about this chick? So now this chick right here knows for sure this man has no time for her. So what happened? She goes to look for, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying, basically, the chick goes to look for Mubaba. Yeah, because the Mubaba has already, he's up there. I mean, he's now relaxed. He's enjoying the interest of everything that is ever invested. And now that's where the next time she thinks of going back to this man who was trying to find himself, she feels I'll be wasting my time right here.
Because she's used to a different kind of life.
So the people who need to be now addressed are now these young girls. When this young man is finding himself, what is this young girl doing?
The same age.
And I think that's where the Bible in Titus, in the book of Titus, it says that older women need to teach their young women. So I think that is a very prime age where now older women need to start speaking some sense and moral values to these young women. But again, they are missing in action, because at that particular moment their friends are everywhere and all over car network. So it's easy, it becomes difficult to bring that, to contain them and bring them to a place where they'll be taught. Now, back to your question. The older people here who basically now get to the place of dating these young girls, and pastors sometimes doing all those nasty things, it is because of the immorality that we now have in our society today. Few years ago, and when I say few, I'm now almost 50. I know what I want, when I want it, and how I want it. That is now my age. And then I'm not looking for anything. So why most of these people now keep, they get out from their the institution and they start looking around? It is because of what the culture now has presented, to people today. For example, there's a lot of nudity in our society today. When you think of the dress code, when you think of how people now, there's a lot of sexual
Pervertness.
Yes, pervertness in the media. Nowadays you click anywhere, you just see things. And because of that, remember, some of these old men, they had wives, and their wives maybe have gotten to that age they feel, I cannot, man, I'm beyond this game. And this man, maybe at that particular moment, it is said there's a certain age you get and you almost go back to your 20s and you feel that you're still on top of the game. So at that particular moment, they cannot get it from home. So what happened? If they have not put their moral values straight, they start now going back. And the truth of the matter is, the younger generation are more advanced than that generation. So by the time this young girl gets this kamzae, kakona one big ab, 6-pack unarranged. Inakuanga ni 6-pack. It's one 6-pack. I just need to arrange it. I normally do that on Sunday. So what happened is that the moment they don't get what they want from their wives, and they get this chick, mwenye sasa ni the digital one, mwenye anajua this is how the game is played. Now you get this man very much confused. Because they will only come, not because of anything, because of what they can get from you. Now remember, you're not adding any value in their lives in terms of finances, because they're the ones who finance you. In terms of stability, they're already stable. In terms of responsibility, they already have a responsibility. So there's nothing new you're bringing except the game, the fun, the pleasure. And that's why the Bible again points out whereby it says in the last day people will be so, immorality will be in the increase. And that's what is happening.
I think it's a very interesting point. When it comes to men are not monogamous. Men are polygamous in nature. We only suppress our polygamous nature especially when men get into marriage. I think that is what happens. You're polygamous. You want to experiment, but your moral values keep you intact. You see, but men are designed to be spoiled of choices. And that's why if we read stories of a long time ago when people were going to war, warriors would fight after battle. They would come back home and they'll be offered a lot of women.
No, but if we go back to that, in the age back then, men were less in number because the responsibilities of men and women were very, very defined to the T. Like a man was doing, his responsibility was providing, protecting, blah, 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 blah. A woman was just cooking, nurturing the family. Okay, so when the men go to war, they come back less in number. Then what happens? The women are a lot. That's why you marry.
It could be a good
2,
argument.
3, 4, 5 women. You understand?
It could be the case, but right now we have a lot of women than men. Still, not many men are married, and many women are not married. In fact, we have a new problem, the single mother problem. It's a big problem, but where does it come from? It comes from the experimenting bit of it. You find a man still not ready to settle with you. Then you bear a child for that man, and what happens? The man realizes that, oh, this was a mistake. I'm not ready. So you get to stay alone. But now when it comes to the issue of cheating is very subjective. It varies with meaning. What do I mean? It varies by meaning. Cheating could be, for example, our brothers and sisters that are Muslims will take that as someone trying to find someone else if it's a man. It's however a taboo for a woman to be polygamous because it has never been heard of. I don't know if it's making sense, but I believe that when men are left to their tools, they do what they are supposed to do. Men become men.
Thank you. On that note, guys, back to you. Please tell me, do you think there is pressure from social media, to portray this kind of a lifestyle, to act rich? What do you think?
Honestly speaking, that depends on the personality of a person and also how you've been raised. But majorly, it's how you feel from within yourself. A lot of people these days, yes, they're pressured. But why would I feel that I need to live someone else's life? I tell people, live your own life. Don't live a life because I'm trying to please my mother, I'm trying to please my father, I'm trying to provide to this. No. Live your life. You might be living, but you're dead from within. Why would people... You find someone who's 80 saying, I wish I had done this, and this. Because they are starting living when they're already in the path of dying, you understand? So if you want to do it, and you want to do it because you want to do it, and it will make you happy, go ahead, do it, go date you understand? But for me, I won't just open my phone, go to Instagram and see a woman has posted I'm in Dubai, and just the thought, but I wish I was there. I'm already sinning, right? Because you want something that is
you cannot afford.
Not you can't afford. In the Bible they say you should not in the 10 commandments. Don't want, yani
Don't covet.
yes.
No covet.
Don't usikuwe na tamaa ya kitu si chako. Fanya tia bidii kipate. So, instead of just thinking
And that big part is what we are lacking, because now we want things on
Not
a silver
everyone
platter.
is
No.
lacking.
Most of these young girls, by the way, because you see, success or having these things that you like seeing on probably on social media, it's a process. Somebody worked for it. Now, a young girl here who is like 21, 22, wants that kind of lifestyle. This person is still in campus. You see, dating a fellow student is not possible. So they will date who? A Mubaba. Why? Because that Mubaba can give them that kind of lifestyle. Now, we are saying, the pastor here gave actually asked a very important question. He said, when the young man is finding himself and building himself up, what is the young girl or the young lady, the same age group, doing?
The same. You should be finding yourself, discovering who you are.
No, because you see, young men and young girls, we have different time frames. Even when it comes to settling, you may want to settle at 25 or you're 27. A young man at that age doesn't want to settle.
But
he
you
wants
have
to settle at
pressure
30.
from the society to
Yes,
settle.
yeah,
down.
there's also the aspect of pressure from the society.
Yeah.
There's also the pressure of wanting to become an independent lady, but then becoming an independent lady means making your own money first before you can decide, now I want to settle. Now, the issue is this. You become independent by getting the money from Mubaba, or you become independent by working hard, maybe working on your job or your enterprise, like starting up a company, building it up, then you become Miss Independent, then you choose who you want to marry. Or get the money from Mubaba who has already made it, then look for a young man.
You
your
sponsor
age
the
group.
guy.
Yes.
And unfortunately, when it goes to that extreme of a woman being independent, when women are left, this is my opinion, when a woman is left to her tools and she has everything she needs,
We don't need
she doesn't need a man.
We don't need you actually.
And
So,
for
The
me,
only thing they
Because-
need is maybe a seed.
a
Yes.
seed, exactly.
Exactly.
And when they need a seed, that is where the problem comes, because now we have single-parented families.
Yes.
That boy is not raised by the father or the
Father
mother.
No father figure.
Yeah, there's no father figure for either a girl or the boy. So they end up not realizing their masculine nature. So they grow up, they now start finding it when they are now at 30s, 40s. Now they're confused because they were never taught how to be men. So when a woman, and the thing is, there's something we are not talking about. When a woman is getting into a relationship, what is she looking for?
To
Is
settle.
it settle? No, I'm talking of now. Maybe you are dating a campus young man. Okay, what are you looking for? In most cases, we have these problems of heartbreaks and whatever's because of sex. That is the truth. If a woman is a virgin, I'm just saying, if a woman is a virgin and gets married by, let's say, 25, 26, let's say, she's much more easier to settle down and find the right partner compared to someone that had her virginity lost earlier. Why am I saying this? When you get into sexless relationships at a young age, it's easy to learn how to live with people and manage that sexual aspect of yourself. But even men, we shouldn't get into it as young as possible. We should only get into it in marriage. But unfortunately, what happens is we learn too much before we are married. So when you're married now, you're trying to think, is this one better than the one I had? You're starting to compare your partner. Am I making sense?
No, for women, no, for women it's quite different. According to law of nature, women are subjected to, we are attracted, we feel things, we will fall in love with you because I feel I'm in love with you. A man, you'll see a sexy woman, you're already in love, You guys are visual creatures. What you see is what you get. For us, what I feel is what I want to get in return. You understand? So by the age of maybe 21, for me, I say, this guy is giving me what I want emotionally. He's telling me what I want, so I can give you my all. I'll give you everything.
Exactly, and that is where now you get the heartbreak, the character development 1, then you go to another character development 2, 3, 4, 5.
Become bitter.
Now you become bitter. By 26, you're getting married. You're trying to think,
You're already damaged.
You're already damaged.
Emotionally damaged.
Yes, and you have a series of men lined up. You're not comparing your husband to number one. Is it? Wait.
Number one was giving this.
Yes, number one was giving me.
You are giving less.
Yes. But now, if you just met this man for the first time and you're married to him, you know that this is the man I have to go with for the rest of my life. Mimi sijajua mwingine ila ni wewe. And you will stay with that man for the rest of your life. I don't know if I'm making sense.
I don't think the same.
Anyway.
No,
Maybe he can clarify. I'm just a young man.
That's how it's supposed to be.
That's how it's supposed to be. But
That's how it's supposed to be.
That's not how it
But is it what is happening right now? Because what I'm seeing right now is a young girl and a young man coming together telling each other, I love you. Not really because love is a very strong word. Not really because they love one another. But they want to sleep together.
No.
Well, I think when it comes to sex matters, one, sex is very biblical. I think we should agree. And God is the one who created sex. Yes, but of course now the world and the media has painted a different picture when it comes to sex. Because from the word go, when God said, a man shall live and cleave, and the two shall become one, naked and not ashamed. One, sex was to bring the unity among, yes, and number two, it was the climax of painting, love, towards these two people, and also it was for reprobation, so those were the very purposes of this. But now, truth be told, as my brother was saying, the moment you engage in sexual activity at a very tender age, and then you break from that relationship, and then you get another. Now there will always be an issue of comparison, whereby I want to know whether this man is like, and even the day you choose to settle down, let me say this, and these are facts, that all of us right here, you can remember the first man or chick who you kissed. You can remember, whether you are 10 years or what year, you can remember vividly. And that basically means it's same with sex, that when you indulge in sexual activities, you always carry a part of that person in your life, in your system. So you live with it. And it takes the hand of God. Now, for you to not allow those thoughts
to come in between,
in fact, to take dominion over your life when you've now settled. So the issue of why people lie, why we get this, is because of media. I want to believe that media has contributed so much. Because nowadays, if we were to go either by our own culture, principles or policies, or even by the scriptures, the Bible, or even the Quran itself, some of this immorality stuff that people do will not be happening today. But you see, we live in a very loose world where everybody feels that I have the right to do what I want to do. Right now, look at Canada, for instance. At the age of 14, you are allowed to choose the partner of your life. If you're a dude, a Jama, you want to marry another Jama or to date a fellow boy, man, the government protects you. So we've become what I think it's in the book of Romans chapter 1 somewhere, where it says that man has now justified the evil that they do and even approve such of these things, even in the law, so that now it suits them. It's no longer seen anymore.
It's being woke.
But if we do the right thing, the right time, And with the right people, I can guarantee you, as my brother says, you get in and you settle. Well, when you talk of statistics in terms of the percentage between the men and women who are many compared to, well, I don't know. Well, it's said, it's true that women are more in number. But you see, you go to our prisons and you'll be surprised where those men you're looking for. They're right inside. We have, the other day I was looking at, I don't know whether it was in the media, we have almost 7 or 17,000 and only, I don't know, 3,000 women in prison. And I'm wondering, Allah, so this is where my husband is.
Maybe your soulmate go.
And again, some of us from our cultures, as we were growing, the only way they could control immorality was to allow a man to marry, another wife. But now, not in our generation. Because in our generation, I want to believe, even these dear ladies that are seated here, no one would want to have another person and think or feel that it is okay. Now, because you want that piece of cake for yourself, well, that shows very clearly how selfish you are and protective you want to be.
We are not selfish. No,
Actually,
we are not selfish.
there's something I'm getting out of that as well. You see, women like saying, I can get what I want. Now, when that statement comes in a union, because men can, of course, do it silently without being seen. We can have other affairs in a marriage, that is in a marriage. And now let's reverse the coin. Let's say now it's the woman that wants to exercise her options in the marriage. How does that look like in the society?
Prostitution.
That is prostitution. So you're a prostitute inside your marriage.
Yeah.
Abomination.
That is an abomination.
It's
right?
a taboo.
But to a man, it's
But that is what is happening.
Yes.
And truth be told, and whoever is going to please don't take my advice. But if Kenyans were to go and do DNA tests for their children, if men were to decide we are waking up today and we're going for DNA tests in this country, men would wake up and not go to work. The entire country.
He's very sick.
Very sick. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Because you find the level of immorality. Actually, I think that immorality outside the marriage, maybe we can forgive. But inside the marriage, where you have children that are not your husband, and you're comfortably saying that these are your children. The day you do a DNA, you realize, oh my God, these are not
living a lie.
I've been played.
I've been played.
No, you're not played. You've been living a lie. That's the most painful thing, living a lie.
So where does that lie start from? It starts from a tender age. Someone went through relationships that are meaningless, that affected her. She became traumatized. It could be other causes. It could be child trauma, for example, they got raped.
Temptation.
Not temptations. Why would someone get tempted if they allow themselves to be tempted? You have to allow yourself to be tempted.
You have self-will.
You have self-will. You can control yourself. But now that brokenness translates from the time they start dating to the time they are married.
Exactly.
Now they have children, and maybe probably they don't like this guy. They want a seed from another man that they cannot marry. I like this man. He is amazing. He gives me everything. But I want a seed from that man.
So
That's why it's rather be independent and get that seed from that guy
But
without
now,
being tied to someone
That's
else.
another problem, because by doing that, you're going to raise children that will not understand their essence. Their essence, they're either their feminine essence or their masculine essence. So they grow up broken already. They have something inside them missing.
But their uncles, their whatevers.
But it's
Their
different.
uncles.
It is very different.
Yeah.
It's very
Uncles
very different.
Cannot bring up your own kid.
like a father would be.
Yeah. A father is always a father. And I usually say this, even if you're separated with your wife or your baby mama, if there's a better word for that, please be in that life.
Present.
Be present in that child's life.
Yeah.
Because they'll need the man's voice.
Yes.
Even the father, you cannot raise a man without a woman around. I think it's possible for a man to be raised by a man without a woman, which Okay, I'm just saying.
On
You'll
that
become a
note,
sadistic man.
let's take a commercial break. We'll be right back. Welcome back. This is the Love Corner Show. I'm going to allow Pastor Sach to give advice to young ladies and girls out there who are dating old men, and also to advise us on what should we do to ensure that we guide young ladies to not get into relationship with older men.
Well, thank you once again, and I think this is I think this forum is more healthy, and we need to allow such discussions more in our society today, because these are things that are not said openly out there. These are things once you start to discuss or to talk about, maybe there's a picture or there's, people might baptize you a different name that you are not even given growing up. But to maybe give an advice, and for me, one of the things that I would strongly say without any fear of contradiction is what has worked for me. Now, my culture has not worked for me. Media has not worked for me. But I think for me, what has enabled me to be what I am today is the Word of God. Why? Because when you talk of marriage, number one, we should remember that this is an institution that God began. So it was not man-made from beginning. And if it was God, then God has the blueprint of the institution itself. God created a man and a woman for a purpose. So it is good for all of us to ask ourselves, what is the purpose? Then what are the roles? What are the functionalities of these two people who come together? Because the Bible says, two shall come together. They shall be one, naked and not ashamed. Now, this oneness brings the issue of trust. And I think for me, trust starts right from the foundation. How you start any relationship will definitely guide us to know how long it will stay. And so, with the issue of young dating the old or above us, these things, as much as I know culturally, those many years ago, including my own grandfather, the last wife my grandfather married was in her early 20s, and at that particular moment my grandfather was in his 80s, 90s. The children that she gave birth to, I cannot truly say they were for my granddad. I would be lying. But she still remains to be my grandmother. That was the culture then. But again, because also culture has contributed in one way or the other when it comes to immorality in our society today, then now I want to base my understanding and my grounds on something that I know that has worked in so many people's life. And this does not mean that they are perfect as much as they believe. And that is the Word of God, the Bible. If today we decide to do things God's way, I believe we would have a better society. Sure. But you see, most of us, we have so many faith and religion and beliefs in this world today that the Word of God has no place in our society, even in relationships. The Bible is very clear. Fornication is sin. And fornicators will burn in hell. That's what the Bible says. And that's very clear. So if you're a young man, the most important thing you need to do is first to find your identity. As my brother said, you need to find yourself and ask yourself, who are you? And what are your purposes in this life and age that God has allowed you to, And for the chick, likewise. The older women, what they need to be doing, they're not doing anymore. Why? Because they are busy doing the things that their fathers are doing. Because we also have older women who are running for young men. And when you ask the Ben 10, I'm told they're called the Ben 10. Yeah, when you ask, they have good reasons. And they say, you know what, my mzee hii kazi yanilemewa, so na mwili yangu ijezeeka, so I wanted
A fresh
quick fix, and quick fix ndo Ben 10. So now instead of them concentrating on raising these young women, now they're also chasing the Ben 10s here, and now and the young men, they're also looking out for. So that's the problem we have in this society, and that is as a result of the fear of God departing from this society today. The truth of the matter is, regardless of what faith you believe in, there are things that are very immoral, and we cannot stomach that. If something is sin or it's evil, let's call it evil. Now, you cannot expect us to keep doing these same things we are discussing about here and expect to raise a different generation. That is not true. There's a generational gap right now. A 70-year, a 80-year dating a 20, or even a 60 dating a 20, man, that's your daughter, for God's sake. Your children will never respect her in the first place. In fact, they will be looking at you and saying, Dada litupambao. I think Dada michizi. Or they might turn to their mother and ask the mom, Nini, unakazianga buda bana mpaka amena kutafuta huko nini? What is it that you're doing that has, so there's a lot of confusion and evil that we've allowed to get into our moral values today. We have justified evil. Something that is evil, we've justified it. And it's okay today. In fact, I remember one counselor saying this: if you really have to have sex, then use condom. And my question was, why condom? And he said, because you see, if they don't, they'll get pregnant. And as a believer, when you get pregnant, you're not supposed to abort. That's... So I'm like, then why do you advise this person to use condom in the first place? And those trust things are not things to be trusted.
The society is broken.
But that's not where the society is. But if we all develop the fear of God, the truth of the matter is, we will all do the right things that we need to do. And for heaven's sake, men, si lazima uolewe. Na si lazima uoe. There are people who God already anajua utaimari. And so you start forcing things like, everybody has a kid, when I get to this age, science or doctors are saying when you get to 40 or I don't know what age, and you try to give birth, I don't know, you give birth to whatever. Those are just lies. Because the truth of the matter is, I know of people who are in their 60s and they're not married. And they still desire to be married. But now, they've accepted that men, I don't have to prove a point, even to my own family members, So I think if we can only turn back to God and move by His principles, then most of these cases that we hear will be able to solve. Sure. If you are ashamed to introduce that man to your own parents, then that tells me that you're conscious, you have some convictions that what you're doing is not right. I cannot imagine. I have a daughter. I have a 13-year-old, I have a 10, I have a 7. But I also have 2 other daughters. One, she's 27, and I have a granddaughter, and the other one, she's 21. Now, they are not biologically my children, but now I've become a father figure in their lives. And I think because of becoming a father figure, it has really helped these girls to live in the straight and narrow. The first one, of course, messed, but anyway, some things happened. But we were able to restore her back, and love her back. But now, today, if I see you with Mubaba, the picture that you put, the interpretation of what I see is that you're prostituting, definitely. Or you're looking for stability. What you're forgetting is that this man, the truth of the matter is, maybe he will live before your time. And when you are in your prime, then what happens? You start jumping around. Because you cannot now go back to these dudes when you're just up on energy and ule mzaya kuwa nayo. So I think what we need to do and what this generation need to do, the church needs to come out so clearly, discuss these things openly. Like for us, there are people that I cannot marry, but they've been a pastor. There are things that I cannot do. Why? Because I have rules or policies that are governing my leadership.
A moral compass.
Pardon?
A moral compass.
Yes. Things that are really governing whatever things we do. And so I think we need to turn back to God. We need to allow the media to be, because media will never change. Media will be media. And let me say this. In the media, anytime you post anything, the likes and everything, they'll put chums. You get paid, you get famous, you're up there. And so media will create a platform for you to become who is who. But the truth of the matter is they also contribute in the moral decay that we're experiencing right now. So ultimately, we have to turn back to God, raise a generation that fear God. And I think when that is communicated clearly, then we will have saved many, many other generations to come.
Yeah. Today's episode is one that we cannot exhaust in one sitting. But I believe we've inspired someone somewhere, and we've also instilled some good values. I want to thank my panel for coming today and sharing with us. I also want to thank my cameraman behind there. Thank you for the good job. And my 2 persons behind the scene. Hello, thank you. I also want to thank you, our viewers, for keeping us company till the end. See you next time. Mwah.